For Ayn Rand, as for the Founding Fathers, abstract thought is not a game in which one cynically marvels at the alleged paradoxes of the universe. Thought, abstract thought, is purposeful. It demands a serious dedication to one's life. It demands the honesty of a mind seeking all the facts, because these and only these will dictate its conclusions about how to act. It demands the independence of a mind reaching its own verdict, no matter how many people say otherwise. It demands the integrity of a mind committed to acting on its own considered judgments. Thought is purposeful. Thought is selfish. Thought is for the sake of production. Which brings us to the second, production. The virtue of production, Atlas Shrugged shows, means a dedication to making the ideal real. It means far more than holding a job. It is a dedication to the work of, quote, remaking the earth in the image of one's values. It represents the proper union of the spiritual and material. What Atlas Shrugged shows is that the souls of an artist and of an industrialist are one and the same. The artist has a new vision of beauty, of what could be, and he strives to give it material form, to erect a sculpture of a woman, to paint a beautiful landscape, or to write Cyrano de Bergerac. The industrialist has a new vision of prosperity, of what could be, whether it be railroads crisscrossing the continent, a metal superior to steel, or a computer on every desk. And he works endlessly to bring his vision into existence. All production is born of a dedication to one's life in reality. It is the earthly form of idealism. And without it, there is no self-esteem. Now, the producer, in his dealings with other men, demands a non-sacrificial mode of existence. In issues of both matter and spirit, in money and in love, he is a trader. Quote, a trader does not ask to be paid for his failures, nor does he ask to be loved for his flaws. Just as he does not give his work except in trade for material values, so he does not give the values of his spirit, his love, his friendship, his esteem, except in payment and in trade for human virtues, in payment for his own selfish pleasure, which he receives from men he can respect. Close quote. Trade is moral, not because it achieves the welfare of the meek or the wealth of the nation. Trade's justification is not that it somehow commutes selfishness into self-sacrifice. Adam Smith's invisible hand, taken as a justification, is corrupt. Trade needs no outside justification. The justification of trade is precisely that it's trade. It's an interaction in which each person is able to pursue his self-interest. It is the only form of interaction in which men meet one another as equals, not as exploiter and exploited. What is the result? What happens when, say, you trade your paycheck for a new computer? Both parties achieve their self-interest. You both obtain something more valuable to you than that which you give up. Trade is the only form of human interaction that at once demands self-esteem. It demands that each trader be seeking the best for his own life, and in turn allows each person to preserve his self-esteem, because he has neither sacrificed his self to others, nor tried to cheat reality through the double standard of demanding sacrifice of others to self. Trade, production, and thought. These form the core of Atlas Shrugged's new life-based morality. Now notice how starkly this ideal contrasts to the Sermon on the Mount's religious conception of morality. Faith, hope, and charity are its virtues. Faith means belief in the absence of logic. It is the opposite of thought. Hope means that you are unable to reach the ideal, that perfection is beyond your reach, but that by God's grace you might obtain it in some alleged afterlife. It is the opposite of working to achieve the ideal in this life. It is the opposite of production. Charity means giving yourself over body and soul to your neighbor and even your enemy, with the expectation of no return. It is the opposite of trade. Jesus on the cross exhibited these virtues. He had the faith that there was an otherworldly Father. He had the hope that he would gain the grace of this otherworldly being. He had the charity to sacrifice his own soul for those of sinners. The result was his death. For a morality of life, this cannot be the image of the moral ideal. What then is? The great thinkers and producers, the men of the mind, the heroes of Atlas Shrugged, the scientists, philosophers, artists, inventors, and industrialists who make a human mode of existence possible. Individuals like Aristotle, Newton, Edison, and Rockefeller. Remember Jefferson's gallery of worthies. Who were some of the individuals included in it other than himself? Philosophers like Francis Bacon and John Locke, scientists like Isaac Newton and Benjamin Franklin, political thinkers and men of action like Voltaire, Turgot, and Thomas Paine. In Ayn Rand's terms, men of the mind. And this, in a nutshell, is the greatness of the American Revolution. It was the possibility of such ideal men that served as its motive power. And the tragedy of the Revolution is that Jefferson and the other founding fathers still thought of Jesus as the sublime preacher of the Sermon on the Mount. What Atlas Shrugged shows is that the choice is either or. And more, it shows us that Jefferson's gallery of worthies are worthy of that which they had never been granted before: moral respect, moral admiration, and moral esteem. In Atlas Shrugged, the character of Hank Rearden is the representative of the man of self-esteem, of the true American. Rearden is a man of tremendous intellect, drive, and productivity, who is denounced for his ability. And although he possesses the core of self-esteem, he's hobbled by the thought that morally he's unworthy. Atlas Shrugged is a story of his liberation. To all such men of real self-esteem, Atlas Shrugged throws a lifeline from the morality of sacrifice. Quote, "They had known that theirs was the power. I taught them that theirs was the glory." Close quote. Now, why did Ayn Rand do all of this in the form of a novel? Well, precisely because her concern was the moral ideal. She wanted to give material expression to her new vision of the ideal. The form in which one does this is art. "The goal of my writing," she said after Atlas Shrugged's publication, "is the projection of an ideal man." Art allows one to experience the ideal made real. It allows one to inhabit that world for a time. As anyone who's read Atlas Shrugged knows, the contemplation of a great work of art is an unforgettable and indispensable experience. Now, Ayn Rand, of course, knew that one can learn a lot from Atlas Shrugged, but she regarded this as a secondary benefit. The book's primary, essential value is that within its pages, one experiences her new ideal made perceptible and real. Any great romantic work of art is, to quote from one of her later essays, quote, "an entity complete in itself, an achieved, realized, immovable fact of reality, like a beacon raised over the dark crossroads of the world, saying, 'This is possible.'" Close quote. And that's what Atlas Shrugged is. By presenting a new moral ideal of what is possible to man, Atlas Shrugged is America's second Declaration of Independence.